I'm sorry I missed the Head Flyer show, but I was over in Europe, and that was a pretty cool thing. I did watch the Timberwolves preseason game on Tuesday night. We're talking here on Wednesday morning. We're going to get into some basketball nitty-gritty, rotation question marks, prospects, rising players, all that stuff. First, though, John, because I wasn't here, I am interested. Tell me how the Head Flyer thing went.
Yeah, it was a great show. We kind of had a little bit of an extended celebration, let's just say. A lot of times we will come to Head Flyer and do a live show, hang out for a little bit, and that's it. But this time around, we had an opening act with the Crunch Wears No Pants guys who were there kind of warming the crowd up and doing well. We played a little lightning for charity, raised some money for Second Harvest Heartland. And then Dane Moore and I had a really fun show. It was a great turnout, a lot of good questions from the audience, good conversation about the Timberwolves and the season coming up and the hopes and dreams and fears that everyone has. And so all in all, I just thought it went great. We are going to be doing 3 or 4 more of them throughout the season and into next summer. So just kind of keep your eyes out for that going forward. But it's been a great partnership for us, and it was another great show at Head Flyer.
Beautiful. Well, thanks to Dane Moore for pitching, and thanks to everyone who contributed to that. First time I ever heard of Second Harvest Heartland was at a Springsteen show in the early 80s. So I love the fact that we're working with them and benefiting. They just do a great job with their organization. So thanks to everyone who made that happen. We do appreciate it. Thanks to Head Flyer. It has been a great partnership, and I'm looking forward to more live shows there. This is the John Krasinski Show. We're coming to you from the Aquarius Home Services studio.
Scott for Aquarius, where we make home services easy. Summer's wrapping up, and those cold, crisp mornings are on the way. Is your furnace ready for the change of seasons? Upgrade now with 36 months 0% financing and stay comfy from the last warm afternoon to the cold winter ahead. Beat Mother Nature at her own game. Schedule your free estimate at AquariusHomeservices.com. Financing based on credit approval. Aquarius, earning the right to be recommended.
Hey, this is Randy Shaver. Along with Kevin Gorg, we host the show Fantasy Huddle on Talk North. Each week, we're going to break down the matchups for the NFL season and try to give you the best chance to win your fantasy football games each and every week. Join us for Fantasy Huddle on Talk North.
And we'd like to thank our presenting sponsor, Lexus, Wayzata, and Maplewood. Let's get into it here. What are you thinking about Dillingham at this moment?
Yeah, it's been, quite frankly, it's been a little bit rough to start these 2 games. I do think in game 1 against Denver, he certainly played well in spurts. He had 9 assists. There were moments in the game where it looked like he had kind of control of what they wanted him to do and how to execute that against a good team. And so there were other moments where he did look like he was getting targeted on defense. And there was a lot of the physicality issues that he's going to be facing, for probably most of this year and going forward. But all in all, I would say it was an up and down performance. There was good and there was bad. Then we, get to Tuesday night against Indiana, and it was pretty much just bad. The Pacers, to their credit, it was really, really impressive. Their first preseason game of this season, coming off of the NBA Finals run, they just look like a team that really knows what they're doing, that has a real identity, that plays really hard, speeds you up, picks you up 94 feet, plays really physical. And they targeted Dillingham on defense. They went right at him over and over again. TJ McConnell, Andrew Nemhard, a bunch of guys just really beat him up and bullied him. And then on the other end of the floor, Rob was not able to really exert his juice and his speed and his quickness to any kind of effect. And that was not only in the first half when the starters were playing, but it was also in the second half. Everyone took their starters out at halftime. And you thought, okay, well, here's a chance for Rob to play against backups and third stringers, and he should stand out in a performance like this. And instead, the Pacers went on a 14-0 run right out of the gates, and he just never looked like he was one of the better players on the court. And so, there is going to be, much like JJ McCarthy with the Vikings, there's going to be ups and downs with this. It's going to require some patience from everyone involved as they get him some experience and let him try to figure things out. But if you were hoping to see a second-year player just really take the reins and go with it, that has not happened to this point yet.
It's so funny you mentioned J.J. McCarthy. I was sitting here this morning, I had yesterday off after a travel day, and I'm trying to think about what my weekend columns are going to be. I thought, Dillingham's kind of J.J. McCarthy. They trade up to get him. They use a top 10 pick on him, wanted to run the offense. He's had a year under his belt. He's young. He's talented. The talent is obvious, and he just haven't quite seen what you want to see yet.
Yeah, and to be fair to both McCarthy and Dillingham, most of the time when you're a top 10 pick, you're going to a team that is not very good, that you can just get out there and play and make mistakes and learn on the job and have difficult seasons early and grow into the role. But with both of them, they have come to teams that are contending. Now, I think the Wolves, you would say, are even more of a contender than the Vikings in terms of just realistic opportunities to go deep into the playoffs and maybe even to a finals. But he is surrounded by players. Rob Dillingham is surrounded by players that are ready, that look ready to win right now. And so much of what is required of a player in his spot is to just get out there, make mistakes, learn from them, grow gradually, and get to a point where you find comfort. But I think that there's just a lot of urgency, on this team, but also in this fan base to say, hey, we need you to be ready sooner than later. And I don't know how realistic that is. He is an undersized player. He's got to grow into things. He's got to figure things out a little bit more. I think he has many physical attributes that can really help the team when he is comfortable. But how long it takes him to get comfortable, just like how long it takes JJ McCarthy to settle in to that position as starting quarterback, is going to be a point of consternation, I think, in both fan bases for quite a while here.
Okay, let's talk about how they could manage the point guard position if Dillingham just doesn't establish himself as a go-to guy. First, though, let's make sure we take care of our friends at Lexus of Wayzata and Maplewood.
That's right. If you're in the market for a new luxury vehicle, look no further than our good friend Charlie Swanson at Lexus. Whether you're on the west or the east side of the Twin Cities, they've got you covered with two great locations, Lexus of Wayzata and Lexus of Maplewood. Check out the all-new Lexus TX, a spacious SUV with 3 rows of seating and plenty of room for all your gear. Head over to lexusofwayzata.com or lexusofmaplewood.com for details and to find your next ride today.
So Conley is starting, at least in the preseason, and DiVincenzo isn't playing much pure point guard. So where does that position stand at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's an important conversation to have because we've talked about leading, into this season. We talked about it with you. We talked about it with Dane. My impression before we even got to training camp was that if you really do want to monitor Mike Conley's minutes, maybe keep them a little bit lower and preserve him for the playoffs and all of those things, it seemed natural to me that you would bring him off of the bench and use him kind of in shorter spurts that way. And then you go to, I was thinking maybe you go to Dante DiVincenzo in the starting lineup and just kind of play it that way. But one of the themes that has emerged early on in training camp is that Chris Finch is pretty clear that no, Mike Conley's still my starting point guard. And they believe that you get Conley with the ball in his hands a little bit more. He can kind of help boost transition a little bit. It also allows, I think, Chris Finch to get to different lineup combinations that he wants to throughout the game, in a little different way. But, that's the way that looks like they're going to start things. Chris Finch just still has a tremendous amount of trust in Mike Conley. He does not have that trust in Rob Dillingham right now, for sure. And I do think that he sees Dante DiVincenzo more as a two-guard, off-guard player than one who kind of controls the action and initiates the offense. I think when you look at it, Jim, like it just feels like Julius Randle and Anthony Edwards are going to do a lot of the initiation and a lot of the quarterbacking. And so I think they could get away with Dante DiVincenzo being right next to Ant in those lineups, but we'll see. I know that, Mike Conley still has a lot of value for this team, but they're going right now with Conley as the starter, and maybe that evolves as the season goes along. Mike didn't look great in his first action on Tuesday against the Pacers. It's just the preseason, but that has been, I think, one of the sort of bullet point items so far in this first week and a half is that no, Mike Conley's still the starter here, and they're going to go forward that way and probably start the season that way.
Fascinating. I expected, like you, I expect to see at least a little bit of DiVincenzo there, but we also have to preface almost everything we say in all these analyses in that it's an 82 game season, and we saw, last year was a great example of how you can do nothing and you can spend 3 months, 4 months experimenting and muddling around. You still end up with a decent seed and a chance to win in a league where, seeding isn't always, and home court advantage aren't always all that important.
Yeah, I do think it is important to note that there was a lot of angst in the fan base, especially the first couple of months of last season, but really for most of it, of the eight starters, Chris Finch just sticking with that 8-man rotation and not bringing in some of the younger guys, not reducing Mike Conley's role. And Chris Finch resisted any outside pressures to make those changes. And he views the season as a long one, as one that you can't just be knee jerk and after one bad preseason game, change things up entirely. And it'll be the same way, I think, early on in the regular season. If they don't play particularly well right out of the gates, you're not going to see Chris Finch deviate majorly from what he believes is the best thing for this team. And he was validated last year. He stuck with those 8 guys. They got to a point into March and into April where they were playing really, really well, and they finally found that rhythm, and then they rode that into the Western Conference Finals. And so there is a great degree of patience from Finch that is not there in the fan base, that is not there, kind of in the more reactionary sections of the league. And so we will see how that serves him, but he has been validated in this approach. And so that's where also, Jim, it really goes back to the Rob Dillingham situation of, okay, you don't trust this guy just yet. Are you going to be patient with him as well and give him the run and let him, kind of mess up and play through mistakes and do all those things? Or, do you go to Bones Highland? Do you go to just more of a reduced role there? It's Shannon and Clark instead of Dillingham. He's going to be tested that way as well, in a much different way. He was tested last year with his veterans. I think he's going to be tested this year with the young guys, particularly Rob Dillingham.
Yes. And you brought up the next name I'd like to get into, Bones Highland. Tell me what he's all about, where he could fit in, what his strengths are.
Yeah, he's been a pleasant, not surprise, but a good, a positive, I think, in these first 2 games where, he is a little bit older. He's bounced around the league a little bit now with Denver, with the Clippers. He was he was talking to teams this summer about going to Europe because there wasn't a whole lot of interest in bringing him in for an NBA deal, but Tim Connolly is the guy who drafted him in Denver, and he actually really believes in Bones. And Bones made a good impression last year when he just came in on a 2-way and was just around the team, attitude-wise. He was really good with Rob Dillingham as being kind of a positive influence and just kind of accentuating the positive with Rob. And now when he's gotten some time on the court here in these first 2 preseason games, he does just look like a player who knows who he is, and is comfortable getting to his spots and making things happen. He's been aggressive offensively. He's knocking down shots. He's getting other people involved, but it's, we keep going back to JJ McCarthy, but Bones is kind of like the Carson Wentz. Wentz was drafted higher than Bones, but they were both first round picks. Bones played really well as a rookie season, and then kind of lost his way a little bit and has been through the ringer the last couple of years. And now you see, like, when you put him into a game, like Carson Wentz just seems to have command or control of the situation and is not sort of rattled by it. Bones is that way too. He's very confident. He's very comfortable, even against Indiana on Tuesday night when they were getting really physical and they were speeding up the game. Bones wasn't great, but at least he was like, okay, I know how to counter this. And Rob looked a little bit more kind of overwhelmed. And so Bones has been a nice player in that with that command, but he has a long wingspan. He's playing a little bit bigger. He's playing a little tougher right now than Rob is. And I think he's making a good impression right now.
Agreed. Yeah. I was listening to Alan Horton and Jim Peterson talk about it last night. Mm-hmm. They were saying that maybe there's a chance for him to kind of elbow his way into some rotation minutes. Is that realistic?
I mean, it's possible, Jim, with the way that he's playing. And, Chris Finch, if you're a coach and you want to be a coach that says you earn your minutes, like, you could say that Bones is earning the minutes right now. I still think, like, for the bigger picture, you have to give Rob Dillingham time. You have to give him a runway to get out there and play and figure things out. And I think it would be probably a little damaging to him if it's, you're making quick hooks, after a mistake or two, or, you're going to the veteran. But I think that Chris Finch needs to give Rob a good stretch of the regular season to really make a full evaluation. But if it gets to a point a month or two in and it's just not working and he's not finding his legs and he's not figuring things out, then what the good news is that you do have Bones Highland there who should be ready to step in. But I don't think the right move right away is to say, all right, Bones is playing better right now in the preseason, so we're going to make him the third point guard and we're going to put Rob Dillingham in Iowa again. I just think that for Rob's confidence and for his development, I think that he needs some shows of faith, and he needs a little bit of time to get out there and sink or swim. And I just don't think that they've had enough time yet to make that decision.
Another Timberwolves season upcoming, regular season opener October 22nd. It means for us another year we get to hang out with TSR Injury Law. Of course, we appreciate them sponsoring the show. They helped us get off to a start. They were our first major consistent sponsor. So once again, big thank you to Steve Terry, his partners. TSR Injury Law. It means another year of watching cool, funny commercials with Naz Reid as well. Our conspiracy theory, we're sticking to it. Naz Reid re-signed with the Wolves, so you couldn't quit TSR Injury Law. I'm going with that. Anyway, all you need to know, if you're ever injured, just call 612-TSR-TIME. 612-TSR-TIME. You'll get great professional service. They won't charge you unless they win your case, and they win a lot of cases. I also want to thank Royal Credit Union.
Choosing the right banking partner for your business is an important decision. Royal Credit Union supports your business needs now and into the future with flexible checking account options and digital tools to help streamline your business operations. Royal also helps take your business further with treasury management services, including ACH, sweeps, and positive pay. Choose Royal Credit Union for business checking. Get started at rcu.org/Royal Choice. Insured by NCUA.
And we're going to hear from John about Princeton's Liquors.
Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove. Bill Princeton, the Princeton family have been in this business for decades and decades. You go to Princeton's Liquors, like we've been telling you, you have great selections of anything you want for parties, for just hanging out, for watching a Wolves game on a Tuesday night. But they specialize in a couple of things. They specialize in bourbon. They specialize in craft beer. Amazing selections of both local and kind of national products, unique brands that will kind of turn someone's head when you show up with it, and stuff that you see every day that everyone loves as well. So if you go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove, they will have everything you are looking for in the beer, wine, spirits kind of ilk, and THC seltzers and gummies, anything that you're looking for along those lines. Go to Princeton's Liquors in Maple Grove.
A couple programming notes. Leah B. Olson is doing, we brought her on to do some hits about the Lynx in the WNBA on Dawn Mitchell's show. We're going to do a full show with Leah next week just to catch up with her and let people know exactly who she is if you don't already know. And she's going to contribute with some Wolves and some Gopher women's basketball hits during the winter. So check that out. We do appreciate it. I've stood on the sideline during NFL practices and games and thought, okay, I don't belong out there. I've stood next to a batting cage when 100-mile-an-hour pitches are being thrown. I thought, okay, I don't belong in that cage. No, you know where else I don't belong? On any court where Jalen Clark is playing defense. My God.
Man, he is a wrecking ball. And, it was a little scary moment last night where he knocked heads with Daylon Wright and left the game. But he just turns up the juice and energy as soon as he hits the floor defensively. And for a team that wants to sort of reconnect with the nastiness defensively that they had 2 years ago, and that, they were a good defensive team last year, but not the overpowering one they were 2 years ago. I mean, he fits right in with that. There's two things that I've really liked about what I've seen from Clark so far. One is the grittiness and the intensity that way. But the other part is that on offense, he just is a really smart player, and he's making cuts to the basket, and he's making himself available for layups. He's looking for others on interior passes. So he just is one of those winning players that gives you everything that you want on the defense, does not make mistakes defensively, and can lock people down, and then offensively keeps things moving. He is the one who's going to give himself up and sacrifice with a cut to the basket, even if he knows he's not getting the ball. He's the one that is going to sit in the corner to get a little space so that Ant can have a little bit more of a lane to get to the rim. And I just think that, this is going to be a fun season to watch for Clark, because last year he was coming back from the injury. He had missed the previous season with the Achilles, and sort of there was just everything was, hey, here's your first game back. Hey, here's your first back-to-back. Hey, here's, all of these experiences. Now this is more just generally, you're just playing basketball now, Jalen Clark. So just, you're fully healthy. You're another year removed from the Achilles. And you can just go out there and really impose yourself. And he's doing that so far. It's been really impressive.
Yeah. I've always loved his game. And I remember talking to people last year in the season because he was pretty effective offensively last year, and he hit some shots, and he shot the three well. And I got different vibes depending on who I talk to. Some people are like, yeah, maybe he can be a good offensive player in this league. And other people are like, well, small sample size, I wouldn't buy into that. Which way do you lean on him offensively?
Yeah, it's funny, he, on media day, we just kind of asked him what his outlook was for this season. He's like, look, if I can shoot 40% from three and play great defense, I'm going to be on the floor. Yep. He's 100% right about that. But when I heard him say that, he's like, ooh, 40%, can you get there? He did it last year in a small sample size. You're right. I do think I want to see more of it just to kind of really sort of start to believe that it is sustainable over a longer sample size. But Chris Finch, we talked to him last night before the game about it, and the coaches seem to believe in Jalen Clark's shot, that he has put a lot of work into it. That I think what Finch likes to say is he has a repeatable skill set. And when that means is that this is something that he can do and do with great consistency. And it's very important that the coaches are recognizing that, because if they see that, that means they believe in it, and they're going to give him opportunities to show that on the court. One interesting kind of side conversation about that was that, Chris Finch did mention that one of the keys that Jalen Clark is going to have to focus on this season is to not try to do more than they need him to do. In summer league, it was pretty rough for him offensively because I think he was really trying to show that he was capable of putting the ball on the floor, making plays, creating his own shot and things like that. And that just did not work out very well. And so I get the impression that maybe Finch has seen, at least in practices so far, that, this kind of desire for Jalen to get out of the box a little bit. And he's just trying to give him the guidance of, listen, start here. We can grow your role as you prove that you are capable of handling more, but you got to show first and foremost that you can handle the simple thing, and then maybe we can expand it. And so, most young players go through this. They just, they have an idea of what they are capable of doing, and they really want to showcase it and make it happen and show it off. And so that's where they can get into trouble sometimes. But for the most part, when he's been on the court, I think Jalen's done a really good job of understanding his role, just doing the simple things, making cuts, you space into the corner, waiting for your shot, and just playing that way. And if he does that with the defense, I do think he's going to really force himself into the rotation discussion a lot this season.
Yeah, I agree. And I also hope that's true because I just love watching him play. He's one of my favorite guys to watch. Let's get to Terrence Shannon Jr. and Anthony Edwards here next. First, though, John, tell us about True Vision Institute.
True Vision Institute in Bloomington. Go to truevision.com. As you're seeing, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, I have no glasses, and it's been that way for more than a year now. It's been a great experience. They get you through the procedure, LASIK surgery, or any other vision correction that you're looking for. But then the follow-up is great. You feel really cared for. And it's been just a great experience. There's been no drop off for me in a year. I'm seeing very clearly. It's very comfortable. Life is easier for me since going to True Vision. So go to truevision.com, set up your free consultation, go in there, just talk it through with the real experts who not only are incredibly knowledgeable on vision correction, but also are so welcoming and so warm and will make you feel right at home. So go to truevision.com and then go into True Vision in Bloomington and get things going for yourself. Like me, you will regret you didn't do it 10 years earlier.
And tell us what's going on at Head Flyer other than great live shows.
Yeah, Head Flyer Brewing we're going into the fall and getting into kind of just hanging out at Head Flyer Brewing. Reminders that they do have the Timberwolves games on. They've put even more TVs up in the tap room, so it's very kind of friendly environment for fans to go and watch games. We are going to have Crunch Time beer available starting, I believe, for the season opener on October 22nd against Portland. And we will also be, Head Flyer is also going to be donating a portion of the proceeds from Crunch Time sales to Second Harvest Heartland. So not only are you going to be able to go in and have great beer, have a great atmosphere, hang out with Wolves fans and just really enjoy a wonderful brewery, but you're also going to be contributing to charities and to food shelves, which are in such great need right now. So go to Head Flyer Brewing, hang out this weekend, enjoy the weather. And once Crunch Time comes around, get in there and order that, and not only quench your thirst, but also contribute to a good cause with Second Harvest Heartland.
Thanks also to Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops Clothing Line, another longtime sponsor.
SGLambchops.com is the place to go. Lamb Chops was at the Head Flyer live show selling some swag. And I mean, they have just great stuff. T-shirts, hoodies, sweaters, pants, everything that you could want from Lamb Chops. Very cool stuff to be lounging around in, super comfortable. Also stylish enough to wear out on the North Loop on a Friday or Saturday night and feel like you're fitting right in with the style as well. So sglambchops.com is the place to go to get your order in. Use the promo code JONK20 for 20% off everything you get at Lamb Chops. At the end of this show, we will have a Twitter question from Lamb Chops for a giveaway. So guys at Lamb Chops have always been very generous, and they are a local company. Support them the way that they're supporting us. sglambchops.com.
Thanks to all our sponsors, are the ones who make all this possible. That's why everything we provide is free. It's because we can make our, we can sustain our organization with sponsors, and they've been great to us. So some of these organizations have been with us for so long. We just want to say thank you. So tell me about Terrence Shannon Jr., where his game is right now.
Yeah, we've talked a little bit about Rob Dillingham and about Jalen Clark in terms of trying to figure out exactly who they are as players and what they can do out on the court. The most refreshing, most I think notable thing so far about Terrence Shannon Jr. is that he has come into this team with a clear understanding of who he is, where he is in his development, and what he needs to do to be on the court. He it will tell you, and we wrote about it at The Athletic this morning, that, I understand that I'm on a team with Anthony Edwards, with Julius Randle, with Naz Reid, with a bunch of really talented guys that are trying to win games. So I'm not going to do anything more than what they're asking of me to do. He was an All-American at Illinois. He was the main scorer for that team. And there's plenty of players who will come into the league after having a bunch of accolades and accomplishments in college and get frustrated with having a minimized role, in the NBA, and, get bitter or kind of angry about not getting their opportunities. But Shannon has come in and is just doing exactly what they tell him to do, getting downhill toward the rim, jumping things in transition, defending well, and really adding some playmaking to his game. He's got 9 assists in the first 2 games of the preseason, and he was really good with that in Las Vegas as well at Summer League. And so he just is proving to be a very coachable guy with a great perspective on what is needed of him right now. He's 25 years old, so he's older than Rob Dillingham, so he has a little bit more maturity about him that way. But I just think that he knows that if he excels in the role that he has, that is being carved out for him right now, that eventually he will be given more responsibility and given more opportunities to expand that role. And so just listening to him talk about how he sees his fit and the path that he sees going forward for himself is, I think, a unique perspective from a player who's in his second year in the NBA, and especially an older player. Jim, you'd think, man, I'm 25. I got to get moving here. I got to make an impression. I've got to get to that second contract and all that. And he's just been so patient with it that he's winning a lot of people over inside the organization.
How would you rate him defensively at this point?
So he is a completely different defender than Nickeil Alexander-Walker. So the minutes that are opening up for him are Nickeil's minutes. And Alexander-Walker was a switchblade, right? He's like this lithe, kind of skinny, just kind of torts his body around picks and navigates screens as well as anyone in the league, and uses quickness and kind of anticipation to his advantage to beat defenders to spots and to make it hard for them that way. Shannon is completely different in that he is physical and strong and just is more of a bowling ball. And so I don't think it's realistic, at least right now, to ask him to be what Alexander Walker was in terms of was one of the best perimeter defenders in the league. But the Wolves do believe that Terrence Shannon Jr. can still be very impactful as a defender. And I was talking to Kevin Hansen, one of the assistant coaches, about it, and he said, "Look, Nickeil would wiggle around screens where I think that Terrence Shannon Jr. is just going to blow up dribble handoffs, with his just physicality. And that's the way that he can kind of inflict himself onto a defensive game plan in a different way, but in a still very effective way. And so he is definitely really focusing on that part of it. He knows what defense means to this team and how important it is and what Nikhil gave them that way. And so he's trying to do that, and he's very athletic. He's really, really fast. I don't think he's as quick as Nikhil, but he's really fast. And so he can chase people around in the half court and do that. But he's got something to learn in terms of screen navigation and that sort of thing. But if he gets out there and just lowers his shoulder into people and makes them feel him physically, I think he can still be really effective.
Whereas Anthony Edwards, and listen, we're gonna have long discussions about Anthony Edwards as the season approaches and as we get into things, but just briefly to kick things off, where do you think he is physically, emotionally, mentally right now?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, physically he looks great. I think he's definitely leaned out a little bit. And you know, one of his emphases on the offseason was to be in great shape and to not get as tired as he would at times during the regular season and in the playoffs. There is a lot on his shoulders as a defender and as an offensive player, but he has taken it on himself to get like in really good shape. And I think that's apparent. You just walk around and he just looks leaner. He looks stronger that way. Everyone you talk to in the organization who has been in these workouts and been in practices just say that he is at another level from a leadership standpoint, from a competition standpoint, this season. They just see a different look in his eye. They see a more involved and aggressive vocal leader. And, you just go up to anyone, a coach, an executive, a player. Hey, what's standing out to you, in camp so far? And it's like, oh man, Ant looks great. And so I do think that he is coming in to this season with the right mindset and with the belief that if everything comes together, he can be in that MVP conversation. And to do that, you have to take on, a greater load defensively. You have to be more consistent that way. And you just have to really emerge as the A1 go-to leader on this team. And he's done everything they've asked of him so far in that regard. So it's, people are really, really high on what you're going to see from him, start when the lights turn on here, October 22nd.
As I said, we'll talk a lot about Anthony Edwards coming up here. We'll save a lot of it for season preview type stuff. Reminder, you can hear John also on the Viking Update Show. Two veteran writers have been around the team for many decades. We talk all Vikings issues there. We have 3 Viking shows on the network. Check out talknorth.com. We have just great lineup. Randy Shaver on high school football, Mark Rosen Sports Monday, Dawn Mitchell's interview show, which highlights women in sports, but not always just women in sports. Russo on hockey, Chin Music with Lavelle and Roy, myself. We just have a great lineup. We also have outdoor content. We appreciate you making it all such a success. Let's wrap up today's session with our Twitter question, sponsored by Shepherd Goods and Lamb Chops clothing line.
Yeah, so this one comes from K. Lars. 06, Minnesota sports fan. Defensively, we need more than Jalen stepping up. Do you think that will work itself out once the season starts? And I'll start with it because it is a great point in terms of Jalen. I just do think that if this team is really committed to being a defensive team and to really increasing that defensive pressure, I think Jalen Clark has to play because he has been the one that is fulfilling that. So when you look at how you parse the minutes between Shannon and Dillingham and Clark and Berenger and all of that, at the end of the rotation, the differentiator right now is should be defensive intensity, and Jalen Clark is bringing that so far. And so I think he is earning a really strong look at real minutes because of that. But do I think it'll work itself out once the season starts? I do. Rudy, with Jaden McDaniels, with everything that they have to offer, I do think that it is going to come around. There was a concern in the Pacers game in the first quarter. I think they shot like 65% and there wasn't a whole lot of defensive teeth. They were missing McDaniels. He was out for personal reasons. They were just not moving as well. And I think in the regular season, you will see more commitment on that end. Also, Chris Finch said after the game that they were kind of playing around more with the zone defense and really focusing on that a little bit more than just digging into stopping the Pacers. So I do think they need to show more for sure, but I think it's reasonable to expect that once, with a couple more preseason games, with a little more work under their belt, and then once the games really start to matter, that you will see people follow Jalen Clark's defensive kind of grit and energy and really dial it up on that end going into the season.
Good stuff, John. Thank you. Look forward to talking to you on the Viking Update show this week. Thanks to everyone who came out to Head Flyer. Thanks to Head Flyer putting on the live show. Thanks to all of our sponsors and everyone who's been listening or watching over the years. We are doing these shows on YouTube as well as via audio most weeks. And we're going to get in a rhythm doing all that and put more of our shows at talknorth.com on video. So realize you have an option to watch or listen either way. Once again, thank you. We'll talk to you next week.